Regularly, Richard.
Where we got to start?
We got to start with the hottest teams in the NBA facing off in Phoenix tonight. So for that, let's welcome in NBA reporter and Warriors reporter Nick Friedel. Nick, what is the Warriors' mindset heading into this game?
Malika, they're back on the big stage. They love it. This is what they've been missing the last 2.5 years. This is one of the biggest games they played since Klay went down in the finals. And being back in this moment, just like that game in Brooklyn a couple weeks ago, they get to remind everybody, hey, we're at the top of the West. We have a chance to break Phoenix's streak, and we have a chance to say, hey, we're still here, and we're not going anywhere. So they're enjoying the moment, and they're looking forward to being on that stage.
Well, and one of the reasons that they are still there, Nick, is their defense this season. So what's the antidote to stopping CP3 and Devin Booker?
Malika, Draymond said you got to cut the head off the snake. And in this case for Phoenix, it's slowing down Booker and getting in front of CP3. This Warriors team, as you mentioned, is as deep defensively as they've been in a while. But for them, the key is they have Steph. But this now goes two ways because Steph's playing the best defense he's ever played in his career, and he knows it. And the rest of those guys know it. And then on top of that, how do you slow down Phoenix? You push the tempo offensively. So you get Steph rolling, you get Jordan Poole going early, and I think that's the way Golden State feels like it can control the tempo and force them into what they want to do the rest of the way.
Well, and we get a 2-for-1 this week, Nick. We get to see them twice. Thank you so much for stopping by. All right, guys. So I do want to know, starting with you, Perk, what is going to be happening tonight in terms of who is under more pressure to, as Nick said, cut that head off the snake and win?
Well, I mean, I think this is easy. And look, we cannot disrespect the team that actually represented the Western Conference. And so the team that's under the most pressure, in my opinion, in this game is the Suns. Not the Suns, the Golden State Warriors. When you think about...
Oh, look at that. That went flip-flop real quick.
No, because I meant to say that because the Phoenix Suns are bringing back everybody, right? They represented the West.
Yep.
And then you have a lot of young guys that are on the Warriors team. I feel like they have been playing well, but this is a real test for them. A guy like Andrew Wiggins, a guy like Jordan Poole, a guy like Gary Payton II, because Phoenix also have young guys to match their energy, their athleticism, and they both play the same type of style of basketball on both ends of the floor. When you look at the Phoenix Suns, they're so connected defensively. Guys are tied on the string. And so when I look at this matchup tonight, I think the Warriors have the most to prove by trying to get this win.
There's a lot of things that you said that are correct, and I'm not going to disagree. There is a lot. I think there is pressure on the Golden State Warriors. The only problem is that the Golden State Warriors have champions. They have two-time MVPs. They have Defensive Player of the Years. And the way they're looking at it is like, we're back to being the best. Not we're back in the postseason. We're back to being the best. So my thing is this. The Phoenix Suns have more pressure. One, because they have this streak going. And that streak adds pressure. As the streak goes longer and longer, that's just a little bit more pressure on them. But for the Warriors, they're looking at this like, yo, we're the team to beat. They believe that because they have championship pedigree. Even though the Suns got to the finals, they didn't finish it off. And so I just look at the Phoenix Suns and saying that, hey, if they lose this one, it'll feel a lot worse for them than if the Warriors were to lose this one. It will hurt a little bit more because the Suns have to prove to the Warriors that they can beat them. This type of team.
So you don't think this is house money for the Warriors? At this point, this is the form that they are used to being in rather than, oh, I need to go and I need to prove something this year because they'd have a bunch of new guys in Jordan Poole and those type of players, Richard.
Let's just say this. There is a Chris Paul, Steph Curry thing that's been going on for years. That is no disrespect. So when Steph Curry's the best player and Chris Paul's the best player, we've seen Chris Paul send Steph Curry home. We've seen Steph Curry send Chris Paul home a bunch. So you have your two best point guards that are going to be battling. So whoever wins that, there's going to be a little bit extra there.
I also think this is a moment for Devin Booker. Right, when you have these young up and coming guys that are, that we consider young superstars. Like last week, I watched Jason Tatum and Kevin Durant go at it, and I watched Jason Tatum kind of come out like, this is my friend. When KD took it personal.
Sure.
Yeah. And so when Devin Booker has an opportunity to be on the big stage going against Steph Curry, doesn't mean they're going to be guarding each other, but if it's two guys that's on that floor, one from each team that are capable of dropping a 50-piece wing dinner, is Steph Curry and Devin Booker. So I'm looking forward to Devin Booker taking it personal, meaning going out there and establishing and saying, you know what, I could go bucket for bucket with you.
Well, before we look ahead more to that game into the future, we need to look into the past. Some interesting games from last night. A little bit of brotherly love in Chicago as LaMelo's Hornets visited Lonzo's Bulls. They were playing each other for the first time all season. And, you know, if they're playing, that also means LeVar Ball has to be in
Who
attendance.
doesn't love a set of balls going against each other?
Richard, onto the court.
Onto the court. Here we go. And look, this game was back and forth, watching them just go. There was multiple lead changes in this Charlotte-Chicago game, but you know what happened? Ultimately, the Chicago Bulls revved it up. The final 3-4 minutes of that first half, it was all Chicago Bulls, as you see this finish right here.
Well, and you know who was instrumental in revving it up for the Hornets? It was that man right there.
It was that man. And look, what I love about him is that his team got down like 20-plus points, but they kept battling back. You see this, look, down 20. And DeMar DeRozan was continuing his show, doing what he does, showing that he is the best player on that Chicago Bulls team.
DeMar DeRozan had 28 points on the night. Let's fast forward to the fourth quarter where it really went down.
Well, and look at this. This is a 6-point game now. They cut it to 4 with 7 to go. That shows you that this Charlotte team is real. You're down 20 on the road against the Bulls, and you keep fighting, but it was too much of the big fella. Vucevic is back. This man went 7 for 7 from 3. We're not even talking about all the layups. But then that was it. Too much defense. And I'm just going to say this, Lonzo. If this is what you're going to do and lay it up, give it to Zach.
I messed you up. I think it was 6 for 6. 16 points for Lonzo, 18 points for LaMelo. Here's what they said after the game.
Obviously, you know, we are brothers and it's all love off the court. But on the court, like I said, he got a job he got to do. I got a job I got to do with both, you know, big parts of our team. So, you know, he came in and played as hard as he could. I played as hard as I could. And I'm still the big brother at the end of the day. And I got to stack my wins.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I always go out and, I mean, you've been talking about the NBA since we were little boys. So, you know, just going out there playing against them, having moms and pops in the crowd watching, just all around a blessing.
All right, we got to bring in J.J. Redick with the beautiful New York skyline in the background there. All right, so both Ball brothers are now in good situations. And, J.J., I want to start with you here, though. Who would you rather have as you're looking towards their outlook in building a franchise of those two brothers?
Well, LaMelo, for sure. And I would say this. The Bulls are built for short-term success right now. You certainly have to look at Zach LaVine's upcoming free agency and how that plays out. But the Hornets have two foundational pieces in LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges, who's made a big jump this year. LaMelo, to me, is a transcendent talent. He's every bit as good as advertised. He can do so much on the basketball floor. He's definitely more of a scorer than Lonzo. They're both very disruptive defensively. But there's an aggression to LaMelo's game. And to me, he is the bigger star of the two brothers.
All right, Richard, you agree?
No, I completely agree. I disagree a little bit when JJ says that they're built for short-term success, because I do believe that the Bulls have a young core. Lonzo is young. I know DeMar is older, but Zach LaVine is young. Vucevic isn't 30. So when you look at this team and you're just saying, like, okay, like short-term, long-term, I think everything in the success kind of range is about 5 to 7 years.
Right.
And I think that the Chicago Bulls are built for long-term success, because as DeMar kind of fades, you would imagine that Zach LaVine or some of these young players can continue to grow. But yes, I would agree with him when I say that LaMelo Ball, he is all box office. He is one of those guys that will be the face of the league for the next 10 years.
Perk?
I'm right there with him.
All right, 3 for 3.
Here's the thing, because when you look at LaMelo Ball, we know that he's box office. We know that on the road, he's going to sell out arenas because people want to see him play. But how I look at it is that when I look at guys like Ja Morant, when I look at a guy like Giannis, when I look at a guy like Trae Young, when I look at a guy like LaMelo Ball, like when you look at those guys, Luka Doncic, those guys are guys that you could start a franchise with. Lonzo, you can't start a franchise with, but I will say he has done an excellent job in his role, and when you put the right pieces around him, he's able to flourish and be that floor general that he has been for the Chicago Bulls.
And let's be really honest, if the All-Star game was today, LaMelo would be in the All-Star game. As a second-year player, LaMelo is in the All-Star game, and that right there as a 20-year-old All-Star, That's pretty impressive.
My bad, I
something.
forgot to mention, Anthony Edwards is also in that conversation.
Okay, Anthony Edwards is in that conversation. I think, to me, what I'm hearing, what you guys are saying is the Bulls are built as a team, and Lonzo complements that. But LaMelo, that's the sun, and everyone else is just sort of revolving around him. You can drop him in anywhere, as opposed to Lonzo. Maybe it's more about the complementary players that he's sort of setting up with, which they're built to succeed right now.
Yep.
But it's about a matter of who is around him. But guys, we are just getting started on NBA Today. We will get you primed with all the keys to tonight's Suns-Warriors game. Who will guard Steph? Will size win the day? Plus, Monica and Richard go head-to-head as the Knicks and Nets face off in the Battle of the Boroughs as rotation questions continue.
I don't think too many people want to go
it is the
head-to-head
top of the
with
top from the 9-game slate of NBA action, including one of the
Listen,
most
I'm the head of the
egregious
class,
triple-double
man.
conclusions you have to see to believe. Let's go coast to coast on last night's action, starting with Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets, who snapped a 6-game losing streak with a win over the Jimmy Butlerless Heat. The reigning MVP had 24 points, 15 rebounds after missing the last 4 games. So, Perk, can the Nuggets still make noise in the West with all the
No,
players?
absolutely not.
Okay. No, absolutely not. Case open.
You don't want to
case
elaborate?
closed. The
No.
end. That's it. The end. It's a no. All right, we're going to move along then. So the Pelicans, they beat the Clippers to thank Jonas Valanciunas for a monster night. He finished with a career-high 39 points and 15 rebounds and made all 7, Richard, of his 3.
Yeah, that's why you met you.
Yeah.
Me.
So how many 265-pounders have you seen make a shot like that?
Not many. Not Perk. We know that.
Well, 265? All right.
Okay. Yeah.
That's about right.
That's about right.
I mean, he was
That's a
on
bad loss.
fire.
That's a
6
bad
threes,
loss for
7
the
threes,
Clips.
on fire. All right, so the Rockets, they've also been rolling a little bit. They won their 3rd straight following a 15-game losing streak, and Christian Wood had another big night with 24 points, 21 rebounds. He's one of 5 players with a 20-20 game this season. So, Perk, is Wood as good or maybe even better than you expected him?
No, I expected this out of him. Look, he just has been getting overlooked. But what he showed us last year, the sample size before he got injured, he was playing at an all-star labor, snatching the screws out the rim.
That's good, Wood.
And letting you know about it. All right, and then the Timberwolves beat the Pacers. They quietly won 7 of their last 8. The trio of Towns, D'Angelo Russell, and Anthony Edwards combined for 74 of their 100 points. Edwards, after the
He's
game,
impressive.
worried about his technology.
Yeah, that was one that you guys had to really grind out.
Wait.
I mean, I'll be honest, I definitely still have a flip phone in my house. As we
Motorola
know,
Razr.
welcome in NBA and WNBA analyst Monica McNutt.
Hey, girl.
Thanks for being here, sis. All right, so the Timberwolves.
Yes.
They now sit 6th in the Western Conference ahead of the Lakers. So what has changed with this team?
Well, runs suck, or losing streaks rather suck, right? But I think what happened with that Minnesota Timberwolves squad is they realized, listen, we're a group that has the accumulated talent. You've got 2 #1 draft picks, right? And so they finally locked in. People seem to forget that D'Angelo Russell was one of the better point guards in the league prior to the whole shakeup in Brooklyn. Over the win, or the last 8 out of 11 that they've won, he's giving you almost 7 assists per game. That's terrific in terms of his command of the floor. I think Cat has decided to play with a little bit more indignation, if I can use that word, and he's been mean and aggressive. And so when you have those 3 pieces, Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, and D'Angelo Russell, just as we have said that the Lakers are getting older, younger teams are getting older too. And so they're starting to put it together. I expect this group to do some things this year.
Mean and aggressive. I kind of like that for him. So do you think that they can make a push to make the playoffs this year?
I do. If you look at the standings now, they're in a terrific position. They're going to have to figure out a way to defend, I think, at a little bit of a higher clip. But overall, they've got the offensive wherewithal. And I think, again, look around the playoff teams in this league. They have a guard in particular that has a tremendous command of what that team needs to do and is able to facilitate and put people in the right position. Oh, and drop 30 if they need to. That would be D'Angelo Russell.
And the West is such an interesting conference this season. I am so excited to continue to watch it unfold. We're going to talk a lot more about the Warriors and the Suns coming up. But since you're here, Monica,
Okay.
we have a little segment on this show.
Let's
It
do
is
it.
called The Top of the Top.
I've seen it.
Want to join? All right.
Let's do it. Come on, let's go.
Seen it. She's ready. We're going to join Richard and Perk to do The Top of the Top from Monday's action. So we have to start with the top and one. And DeMar DeRozan, who was on fire last night, he was in a giving mood. And then this happened. So
Look, I'm telling you, this is up fake. Don't fall for the move, young fella.
Oh, man.
Hey, listen, we had a thing in the postseason against the Toronto Raptors. You got fined if you fell for a DeMar DeRozan pump fake, one of the best pump fakes in the game.
You was not in the game.
I mean, we?
No, yeah.
What, we? JR, I didn't mean to call you out. It was Swish. Swish fell for it. He got fined. He knows. He knows the truth.
You didn't
That's a
find-
mean pump fake.
Yeah, all right. All right, let's go to top handles. That is Malcolm Brogdon. He has been in a groove all season. Monica, take a look at this.
I love Malcolm Brogdon, excuse me. And I think people forget how big he is, and sneaky athletic can apply to this guy because he's so steady and he only brings it out in spots. But he has the ability to do stuff like this.
Ooh.
The handle.
Ooh.
Oh, my goodness.
Don't go off the wrong foot, too, with the left hand. I see you, big fella.
You forget the foot issues that he had. He is clearly so far past that. All right, let's go to H-Town for top slams because rookie, do you want to pronounce it? Alperen Şengün?
Şengün! Oh!
Wow.
I call him the big turkey. Look at him.
You could probably eat a turkey that big.
I probably could, but this is what you call
Wow, guys.
This is what you call sneaky athletic, okay?
My personal mission, though, Malika, and I know you are a tremendous reporter, is to get the translation for the prayer that he says at the free throw line. Nobody knows what he says.
Absolutely. Well, we needed a prayer to stop Porzingis.
Oh,
my goodness.
Ooh,
He put
baby,
Jarrett
is that?
Allen on a poster.
Hey, look, if you can dunk on Jarrett Allen, he's one of the best shot blockers
can
in this
dunk.
league.
He got
But that's
the
good.
fro. He
That's
got
good.
the fro.
He
The
got
fro
the
shook.
fro.
Yeah,
You gotta hit him with that fro
unfortunately,
play.
the fro got a
See
little bit
Porzingis
clipped
playing
on this
with the
one.
drip.
All right, top
They
teamwork
cheated.
does not belong to us today. So let's stay in Houston, where Kevin Porter Jr. He needed one rebound. He was one rebound shy of a triple-double. They tried. They tried so hard. They got it back.
He tipped it to him. He just let it go. What he do? Go get it.
He said,
yeah.
Those are great teammates.
Yeah.
Those are great teammates
That's
that all let him
cool.
do that. Those are amazing teammates.
But he was focused.
And I've seen teammates actually grab rebounds and then laugh on the way up.
Is Perk the guy who would do that for you?
No, Perk's not grabbing rebounds like that.
He wouldn't have helped you.
He's not grabbing rebounds like
I
that.
appreciate that he was focused.
I didn't play for
You had three
He wanted
people.
it.
You had
He
him.
wanted it.
He tipped it to him, and the other two were like, "Go get the ball." You want people that celebrate you.
Yeah, you want
You want people that want to celebrate your
This
success.
is exactly why the Rockets are 4-25 or whatever they record is,
wow,
because they
Perk.
play for stats.
Okay.
You ain't have to go there.
That is playing
You
for
didn't have
stats.
to go there.
Because
Okay,
I went
just
there.
so you know, Perk, I would have done it for you. I would have tipped
It's
it for
fun.
you. Coming up, one streak has to come to an end and another will continue. Who will be atop the West when Tuesday night concludes? We dig further into Suns Warriors as NBA Today rolls right along. The two best teams in the NBA will face off this week. Twice.
A fourth quarter onslaught from the Suns. Curry three. I love angry Steph.
Tonight, the Western Conference champion Suns put their 16-game winning streak on the line. Phoenix hosts the 18-2 Warriors, intent on resuming their annual trip to the finals. On Friday, they'll run it back on the Bay.
I'm looking forward to it, man. It's a good, measuring stick against the team that's in the finals last year.
We know how good that team is over there. They have a culture, they have an identity.
They have confidence in who they are. They have an identity of how to win games.
For two teams with only one goal, they may have to go through each other. This week, the Suns and the Warriors will get a sneak peek of what it might take.
Two best records in the NBA, and it's going to be a high-intensity, fun game.
Love the yin-yang twin vibe there. All right, so the top two teams in the league are facing off, and we have got the numbers behind all of their success. So both teams rank in the top 10 in, get this, both offensive and defensive efficiency this season. So they're getting it done on both ends of the floor. And you guys remember when the Suns started at 1-3 on the season? Well, that was cute because Phoenix has now rattled off 16 wins in a row. And with the win tonight over the Warriors, they would tie the longest win streak in franchise history, which was set in the 2006-2007 season when, they ultimately lost in the Western Conference semifinals against the Spurs. But the Warriors, they are back doing Warriors things. Their 18-2 record is the best of any team through 20 games since, that's right, you guessed it, the Warriors in 2015, the year they started 24-0, and then went on to win an NBA record 73 games. So I want to go back with the crew, with Monica, with Perk, with Richard. We may see these teams again.
Yes.
We may see them down the line, and they may get in each other's way on their road to the finals, right? So I know Chiney isn't here. Don't look so bored, Richard.
I'm locked
I know
in.
Chiney isn't here, But I do want to do a little cheat sheet
Okay, let's
for
do it.
tonight's game.
Okay.
I want to start with you, Richard. What's your key?
I think whoever's going to guard Steph Curry, I really look at Bridges as the one guy. I know Jay Crowder is a very good defender, but I like him against bigger players. When you're looking at Bridges, he's the one person I think can chase around Steph. That activity, that movement. People, if you don't see it, especially this version of Steph where he has all the guys around him that can move, that is going to be difficult. So I don't even know who their second defender is. You don't want to wear out Chris Paul and Devin Booker trying to chase him around all night.
So your key is stopping Steph, and you're looking at Miles Bridges, who I've said before is becoming one of the best 3-and-D guys in the league to do that. All right, so Mikal Bridges, excuse me. Monica?
All right, so I agree with you, Richard. It's Mikal Bridges and friends, though. And I think you got to look at the depth that this Suns team plays with. They've got a second unit that is top 10. I believe they're 6th in the league in terms of the ability of that bench unit to also come in and be productive. And so the Suns have the ability to come at you in waves. Yes, Chris Paul, D-Book, Ayton, all those guys. But that second unit, not only are they scoring, but if you watch closely, Cam Payne does a great job of changing the pace with that team a little bit, right? So he's able to push the ball. They find some easy baskets in transition. I think that what this is going to come down to is not just Bridges, but the ability of the rest of the guys to communicate and deny, because Chris has said it. One of the most difficult parts about guarding Steph is how much he moves without the basketball. But if you can stay locked, the rest of the guys, right? Ayton in particular, maybe some McGee are going to be key in this ball game. I think that their defense will step up to the plate.
Well, when I look at both of these teams, I think when you look at the guard position and the wing position, I think it's a wash on both sides. I think it could go either way. I'm looking at the interior. I'm looking to see how the Golden State Warriors are going to match up with DeAndre Ayton and JaVale McGee. JaVale McGee has been an unsung. He's been an unsung hero, because when DeAndre Ayton hasn't had it, JaVale McGee has came into the game and changed it completely with his shot blocking, his rim running, being a live threat at the basket. So I'm looking at how they're going to match up to them for as using Draymond, or they're going to use Looney, or they're going to make adjustments, sub him in out early, because Phoenix is not going to, change up what they're doing like the Brooklyn Nets did when they played the Golden State.
Well, and size has been something that the Warriors, that's been their Achilles heel in some ways, and they've always kind of had to find ways around it and against it. All right, I want to bring in JJ for his biggest key. JJ Redick, what are you looking at tonight?
Well, y'all have alluded to this, but it's absolutely containing Steph Curry. To me, he's the hardest player in the NBA right now to game plan for, because he's so good on the ball and off the ball. Let's look at on the ball real quick, because I think you have 3 options in pick and roll coverage. You can play drop coverage, which is probably out of the question. You can switch, which is unsustainable, or you can blitz. This is a little wrinkle Golden State has introduced in this 2-man game with Dre and Steph. Instead of rolling to the basket and playing 4-on-3, he's coming right back to the DHO. There's no way for that big to get back. He's almost back in drop coverage on that second DHO. Here, Anthony Simons does an incredible job of top locking Steph on the same action. Draymond looks to come back for him. Because they've cleared out that side, it gives Steph space to find a passing lane from Draymond to knock down a 3. Their 2-man game and how they defend that is the key to stopping the Warriors. I also want to acknowledge his off-the-ball movement. Everybody thinks of the Warriors as a jump shooting team. They're 5th in the league in terms of their rate of shots at the rim. And so much of that comes from Steph Curry's off-ball movement and the awareness and overhelp that comes with that.
So you just gave us a great breakdown of what to see from the Sun side defensively. On the flip side, how are the Warriors, do you expect them to adjust if that's how they're locking down Steph?
I look for Draymond to be a playmaker, and they certainly have enough shooters. Otto Porter has been great this year. Jordan Poole has been great. Draymond can make plays, and so that's the adjustment they've made. That's a little wrinkle they've added where they go right back to that dribble handoff. But Draymond is more than capable if they're going to play blitz action all night in terms of making plays, finding shooters, finding cutters. There may be some switching, but I just think a steady diet of switching and putting Ayton on an island with Steph is unsustainable.
Steady diet of switching. I love that. JJ, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate you stopping by. And since you're in New York, I think when we return, we're going to have to stay in that New York state of mind. Kemba Walker and Blake Griffin face unprecedented new roles in the Big Apple. So Richard and Perk give their perspective on how to handle an on-court demotion.
Live from Los Angeles.
We're back. All right. we're going to go to my favorite city because it's the Battle of New York hoop supremacy. It continues tonight with the Knicks and the Nets. A veteran on each team. They've seen a decrease in minutes recently. So yesterday, Tom Thibodeau said that Kemba Walker is out of the rotation with the Knicks. Alec Burks will start in his place. And meanwhile, on the Nets side, Blake Griffin has 2 consecutive DNPs despite being healthy. Blake Griffin spoke about being out of the Nets rotation yesterday.
Listen, LA's been playing unbelievable. So I totally get it. I totally get it. I'm gonna start him, especially Joe's out, or Joe has been out, and I totally get that. He's completely out. I don't know. I didn't necessarily see that coming, but like I said, that's not my decision.
All right, I'm here with Richard, with Perk, with Monica. So you're our New York resident, but I'm going to start with Perk because you have.
By all means.
It's good. We're starting with Perk. All right, you have gone from in your career being a starter on a championship team to then eventually being out of the rotation. How did you handle that, and how would you advise Blake Griffin and Kemba to handle that?
Well, I didn't handle it well because it's hard.
Honesty is the best policy.
Yeah,
That was beautiful.
I didn't because it's hard when you're transitioning to the other side of that mountain and the reality hits you, right? They bring in a young star like when I was in Oklahoma City, Steven Adams, and it was like, and I started writing on the wall. All of a sudden, I went to the bench. My minutes went from 20 minutes off the bench to none, and it becomes a point where you realize that, hey, I'm just on the other side of it. But look, let's talk about the Knicks for a second. I know a lot of people were sitting up here jumping for joy, the press conferences. Oh, we got Kemba back. I wasn't a fan of it because I knew this wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to work dealing with Tom Thibodeau. I played for Tom Thibodeau. I won a championship for Tom Thibodeau. One thing about Tom Thibodeau, a guy that doesn't have a wife, a guy that doesn't have a girlfriend, a guy that doesn't have a life, a guy that is married to the game of basketball, he pays attention to everything. One of the best defensive-minded coaches in the game today. Tibbs don't give a damn about offense. It's all about defense. And what I think we're seeing happening is that we expect Kemba Walker of the Hornets. And as a guy that watched every single Boston Celtic game for the last 5 years, I watched Kemba games start to decline. And if Kemba Walker is not out there giving you 20 to 25 points a night, he cannot help you because he's a volume shooter, so his percentages are never going to be high.
I'm going to get back to that. But don't you think I forgot about you, Richard?
Yeah.
Don't you think I forgot about your time?
I was just
falling out of that. We appreciate you airing all of your dirty laundry. But how would you have handled that situation?
Honestly, I didn't get my first DMP coach's decision until I was year 12. And speaking on Perk's level, when I showed up in Golden State, Klay Thompson was in his first year. Then they drafted Harrison Barnes. Then they drafted Draymond Green. So immediately you have to turn. Now, look, both of these teams aren't young teams, but you have to turn on that, okay, well, if this is what it's going to be, then you have to learn and you have to adjust. We've seen great players not adjust. We saw it with Carmelo Anthony struggling with going back to the bench. And it's like, yo, Carmelo, you're one of the 75 greatest. You're one of all these things. But when it's time for your opportunity to move on to somebody else, you have to handle it with grace. And so I love what Blake Griffin said. Blake Griffin wants to win a championship. And even when I was fortunate enough to win a championship in my 15th year, there were times where I was in the rotation. There were times I was out of the rotation. There were times that you were going to be important, and there were times that you were going to have to be support. Right now is Blake Griffin's time to be supported.
All right. So I want to this cross table discussion here that I want to facilitate between Perk and Monica. Monica, you heard what Perk had to say, but you were around the Knicks all the time. He didn't stutter.
He didn't stutter. Nobody said you stuttered.
No one said you stuttered, but
we heard you loud and clear.
I need to hear the gospel from Monica because you're around the Knicks on what you're hearing about Kemba's removal from the rotation.
What is a little bit interesting, listening to what you guys said, is that there has not been a clear-cut draft selection to play over Kemba, right? Kemba came over in free agency, and I think there was some optimism because last year the questions around the point guard were rightfully so. But as of late, Immanuel Quickley's emergence on both sides of the ball has exacerbated the relationship that Kemba has in terms of this offense. And by no fault of his own, you're absolutely right, Kemba's a volume guy. He's a point guard that's used to being featured in terms of being a leading scorer, and that is not the system with this Knicks. But by no fault of his own, the numbers bear it out. He's been such a defensive liability. If he could give a little bit on that side of the floor, I think he would find some grace. What's that face for? Come on.
No, I'm merely just I'm agreeing with you with the face because he's going to say something crazy. Go ahead.
I just know it's the defensive part was glaring from the jump. He came out first 3 games was shooting crazy from behind the 3-point line. And of course, the question is, all right, how sustainable is this? Now the Knicks are working through a lot offensively in general, but I think defensively he's not done himself any favors or gathered any type of grace.
Well, so a few things. One, to the point of the veterans, right? If I had to give any advice to any veterans out there, just watch Udonis Haslem. Staying a true professional, being a leader, staying in shape, just being who he is. And right now, he's still playing in he's 62 years of age.
Yeah, just turned 63 this year.
But that's such a unique case.
No, it's not. But it's just part about embracing your role. But I will say this. Look, when it comes down to Tibbs, all right, Tibbs is a guy that is so locked in defensively. He just wants you to play hard. So he's looking at the little things if Kemba could get up over screens. And the thing I love about Tom Thibodeau, he don't care. He don't care about how much money you make. He don't care about how much money you're making. He don't care who's the franchise guy. He's going to put whatever guy that is capable of helping him win on the floor, and he'll deal with the front office and everything else when he have to deal with it.
Guys, let's just tell the truth. With
I told
all
the
due
truth.
respect, I love Kemba Walker. He is a stud. He is a star.
One of the best feel-good stories of the season, him coming home, listening to him on our friend Zach Lowe's podcast, talking about being healthy for the first time.
I love him. But he is 5'8" on a good day and about 116 pounds. And that means the fact that he's accomplished what he's accomplished is great. But he's got a bad leg. He wasn't able to play consistently in Boston. If they would have valued him, they wouldn't have waived him in Oklahoma City. So now you're asking a guy that is undersized, that was an offensive just a fireball
Firework.
his entire career, who's on kind of 1.5 legs. And now you're asking him to be a defensive guy. And not just defense. Tibbs defense.
The Tibbs defense. To compound all of that, y'all, right? Like, you also have Tibbs, who trusts Derrick Rose, who has been terrific for this team when he's been healthy, particularly in late games. So it's just a snowball for Kemba.
Hey, Monica, you want to take a walk?
Let's go.
Because I'm going to be really honest. I know you can stand on the Knicks side because that makes me nauseous. I'll stand on that side.
Don't do that.
But we're going to talk about what I want to talk about is why they had to move on from Blake. And look, Blake, let me tell you this. Your time's going to come again. You're going to get another opportunity. But right now, they decided to go with James Johnson and LaMarcus Aldridge. And this is why. LaMarcus, people forget, this man is a 9-time All-Star. He's a 5-time All-NBA guy. The only reason why he set out last year is because he had a heart condition. So he's coming back. He's got a newfound love and joy for the game. You know what the Nets record is when he scores over 20 points. One of the biggest things of this season was James Johnson being able to come in and play this type of defense. So James Johnson is a better defender than Blake Griffin. LaMarcus Aldridge is a better offensive player than Blake Griffin. So this is just that tough moment being caught in between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah. I love Blake Griffin. And I tell you what, Brooklyn's defense has been incredible this year, which is a little bit of a surprise. All right, so this matchup is tonight. Now, the Knicks got to deal with Brooklyn's defense. Now, here's where I think the Knicks are best. Emmanuel quickly is evolving. He comes off this screen. You got a terrific drive by Jericho Sims that is going to draw that help defender into the paint. This guy over here, your draft pick out of Houston, Quentin Grimes, shooting the ball with confidence, able to get that shot to go. Emmanuel quickly has been so important because he hits these screens aggressively. Obi, our other favorite story emerging in New York, has been terrific in front of the rim. You can see the difference from year 1 to year 2 as a professional athlete that is looking for his shot and knows his spots. He's a terrific floor runner and great in front of the rim.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And all the things that she says will have no impact on why the Brooklyn Nets will win the game tonight. And if she doesn't believe me, like my old boy Perk said, if two people have a disagreement, the next word should be bet. So whatever the bet you want, Monica, let me know.
The Knicks just hold me down.
You got it, Malika. You got it, because I already know whatever the bet's going to be.
Well, coming up, Richard, we're going to the other coast because the Lakers face the Kings tonight with LA's struggles. Should they regret not trading for Buddy Hield? Plus, Richard will tell you what's up with Russell Westbrook. Stick around. I'm so glad to see that. But the Lakers, they face the Kings for the second time in a week. And Friday's matchup, it was nothing short of wild.
Tonight, the Sacramento Kings invade to take on the Lakers. Rolls around, comes out, LeBron over the head to AD. We're going overtime again. Lakers were in good shape. Buddy Hield with control of it. Buddy Hield, look at his shot, got it! Here we go. Third OT. This game is officially in the books. Lakers fall below 500 again. They are 10-11. They are 7-6 at home.
All right, so I don't want to sound any alarms here. The Lakers, they sit at 10-11 like we just heard, and that would mean that they would be in the play-in tournament if the season ended today. Obviously, we still have a lot of time left. And remember on draft day, guys, when the Lakers were on the brink of trading for Buddy Hield, and they ultimately decided to trade for Russell Westbrook instead. So, Richard, coulda, woulda, shoulda, or sticking with Russell Westbrook?
Look, it would have been great for the Kings because of the haul that they would have gotten. But in my opinion, the Lakers needed somebody that was going to impact winning. Now, Buddy Hield has been there in Sacramento for a while. The organization is pretty much in a little bit of disarray for the last 15 years. That's why they haven't made a postseason. Buddy Hield does not affect winning that way. They needed somebody that could help them win games when LeBron was out, when AD was out, and they brought in Russell Westbrook. Now, Russell Westbrook has struggled, but ultimately, I'm going to say this, that Buddy Hield doesn't impact winning, or else he would have impacted winning for the Sacramento Kings, and they have struggled the entire time.
Buyer's remorse, Perk?
Nah, look, if we was to start it all over again, I would trade for Russ over Buddy Hield 100 out of 100 times. Here's the thing, they just not playing well. And look, we know that the Lakers got to figure things out. They got to get identity on the defensive end. They got to figure things out offensively. Guys need to be more stars in their roles. They need to cut out the outside distractions. But with all that said, they only a game out of the fourth spot. Like they're one win or two wins from being in the fourth or fifth spot. So as bad as they have looked, I think last game was to me a stepping stone for as the big three finally putting a good game together. And I get it was against a new rivalry, the Detroit Pistons, but I wouldn't.
Well, but the big three, they have only played 10 games together so far this season, and in those 10 games, they've had 3 consecutive games together only twice. One of them was the first 3 games of the season, and the other one, guess what? That was their only 3-game win streak so far of the season. So there's still a little bit, even 21 games in, of needing to find that identity. But Richard, you believe that Russ was the better move, right?
Yeah, facts.
So what concerns you have watching him play right now?
Well, when I watch Russ play right now, the thing that I really struggle with is when you look at, say, like a LeBron James, and we're going to compare Russ to other great players. LeBron
That's
James,
a respect thing.
Yes, LeBron James he struggled to shoot. Jason Kidd, per se, great point guard, had to develop his three-point shot over his career. So even as his speed and all of that started to decline, he developed to be one of the better three-point shooters in the league. Russ has not developed any more skills outside of what he has. And he is elite. But right now, he's not getting the same elevation. That means he's not finishing in the paint the way you see. And I don't know if it's, if it's fatigue, if it's tired. Look, Father Time is undefeated. People say all of those things. But right now, when you watch Russ play, he still has the speed and the quickness, but he's not finishing at the level. You're not seeing those explosive dunks. And look at these numbers. In the restricted area last year, 64%. This year, 56%. In the paint, non-restricted, 41%. So you see his percentages go down. Now, I believe Russ will pick it up. He typically gets better as the season goes on. But when you look at these numbers, his free throw percentage went from the mid-80s, 84%, to now he's shooting at 69%. So now his free throw percentage is not as efficient. He's not as efficient near the paint, and we're not even talking about the turnovers. So there's just a lot of meat left on that bone for Russ to improve.
I got to disagree with you because over the last 5 games, Russ
played better.
He's played better. And I thought even the game against Sacramento, see, this is what people have to realize we're playing with LeBron James, okay? Look, you got to be able to stand up to him and say, move out the way. Because when we watched that game against the Sacramento Kings, I thought Russ and Anthony Davis had something going in the two-man game, whether it was high pick and roll, whatever the case may be. I thought they had it going. And then all of a sudden it went to that one side of the court, let's get it to Braun and everybody's space, and then the offense got stagnant. You have to be like a Rajon Rondo is to LeBron James when he's on the floor. Rondo don't have a problem with telling Braun, run, move out the way, I got it. And at that particular time, relax, I'm talking about one game.
I know.
But the way you're looking at me,
I was about to agree with you.
Don't start today, all right, man? Look, because listen, I'm telling you right now, I had a rough plane ride. They had that one guy on the plane today that had to let
they didn't have those seatbelt
but no, they had to let
extenders.
everybody know he was the ultimate businessman, so I couldn't get no damn sleep. Don't start.
All right. Well, it's a good thing because the Lakers are going to start today and they're going to start on Friday, and we'll have Perk there all the way through the Friday.